We all encounter difficult people in our lives, those who are angry, hostile, manipulative, or just plain toxic to be around. Whether it's a family member, co-worker, neighbor, or someone else, toxic people can cause us an immense amount of stress and suffering. The Buddha's teachings show us a wise path for navigating these challenging relationships with compassion, clarity, and inner peace. The source of toxicity. The Buddha taught that toxic behavior stems from the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion present in the human mind. Greed refers to an excessive craving for money, power, possessions, or sensory pleasures. Hatred encompasses anger, resentment, aversion, and ill will toward others. And delusion is a distorted perception of reality born of ignorance. When the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion blaze fiercely in a person's mind, it leads them to engage in unskillful actions of body, speech, and mind that harm themselves and others. As the Buddha said, greed, hatred, and delusion burn beings, as a forest fire once arisen burns trees and brushwood. Toxic speech and conduct are like the smoke from this inner fire clouding the toxic person's judgment. The wisdom of non-attachment. So how can we relate to toxic people without getting burned ourselves? The Buddha's key advice is to avoid getting caught up in the toxic person's stormy emotions through the wisdom of non-attachment. This means not clinging to expectations of how the relationship should be, or taking their harsh words and actions as a personal indictment of our self-worth. In the words of Jack Kornfield, the Buddhist teacher and author, our difficulty comes when we resist them, react against them, resent them, and get caught in hurt feelings and resentment ourselves. By accepting the present situation with non-attachment, we can respond with calmness and clarity. The Buddha likened the experience of being insulted by an angry person to having a handful of dirt thrown at you. If you don't react, you are not harmed. Toxic people act as they do because of their own greed, hatred, and delusion, not because of any intrinsic flaw on our part. Cultivating compassion. While non-attachment keeps us grounded, the Buddha also emphasized cultivating compassion for toxic people, since their own hostility surely stems from profound unhappiness. As he said, hatred cannot coexist with loving kindness. It dissipates. True compassion is not approval of toxic conduct, but seeing the toxicity as a sign of inner torment in the other person. The more we can understand that harmful actions come from a place of delusion and deep-rooted suffering, the easier it becomes to avoid resentment and have empathy for the toxic person, while still protecting ourselves. Mother Teresa exemplified this compassionate attitude, saying, "I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations. I said that I will never do that, but as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there." Setting clear boundaries. While having compassion, the Buddha also taught the necessity of setting firm boundaries with toxic individuals and limiting our exposure to harm. As Thich Nhat Hanh advised, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. We show our compassion by not escalating toxicity with more toxicity while still being assertive in protecting ourselves. This could mean limiting contact, changing living or working situations if possible, or firmly but politely establishing that hurtful speech and conduct will not be tolerated. Mohandas Gandhi demonstrated this balanced approach, saying, "Non-violence and cowardice are contradictory terms. Violence is the choice of the cowardly." If we must be around the toxic person for periods of time, the Buddha advocated taking breaks to renew our sense of inner peace and not absorbing or retaliating against their hostility. If you watch your mind, you will find it alternately going towards and away from non-virtue. You must be aware of this continually and firmly apply the brake to the unwholesome side. Short pauses to breathe consciously and have compassion for ourselves can do wonders. The antidote within. Ultimately, the Buddha reminded that real freedom from the effects of toxicity has to come from doing the inner work of purifying our own minds of greed, hatred, and delusion. Our thoughts and emotions in reaction to toxic people are what determine whether we suffer or remain at peace. As Lao Tzu said, "Those who are free of resentful thoughts surely find peace." With a mind free of greed, hatred, and delusion, we do not get hooked by toxicity, but can respond with wisdom, equanimity, and compassionate action. The Buddha reassured, "There is no fire like passion, no misery like hatred, no torrent like greed." The training is to meet toxicity with the opposite qualities of generosity, loving kindness, and understanding. Towards those who are greedy, we can reflect on letting go of greed and share the wealth of our giving spirit. When faced with hatred, we make the sincere wish that the person could find peace and freedom from anger. And to someone deluded by ignorance spreading toxicity, we offer the clarity of a spacious perspective that knows their harmful conduct is rooted in misunderstanding. The poet Thich Nhat Hanh captured the unshakable strength available through applying the Buddha's teachings. "I hold my face to the wind. Until the wind calms down, my peace cannot be disturbed." In summary, the Buddha's path for dealing with toxic people is one of non-attachment, compassion, firm boundaries, conscious renewal, and above all, doing the inner work to free our own minds from the toxins of greed, hatred, and delusion. Seen through spiritual wisdom and equanimity, even the most intense toxicity need not make waves in the ocean of our peace.